All right, CJ, as 2024 comes to a close, we wanted to go back and take a look at the five biggest NBA storylines of the 2024 calendar year. We each got five. We're going to go one after the other. Would you like to start, or would you like me to kick off?
You can kick us off. I'm curious, are we doing like order, or are we just pulling five? Like how
Just,
is this gonna?
just five. I
All right,
don't have them in order.
that's fine. You can start us off.
Um, Number one for me, biggest storyline is the unbelievably loaded Western Conference and the fact that for the foreseeable future, what we see in the West right now, 11, 12, 13 teams per year are going to be fighting, scratching, and clawing for a spot in the playoffs or the play in. I mean, if you look at the West right now, the Pelicans have obviously gone completely haywire. But going into the year, they were supposed to contend for a playoff spot. The Jazz and the Trailblazers stink. But after that, like all of the teams in the West, they want to make the playoffs. They want to make the
Yeah.
play in. They want to be good. And a lot of these teams are young. A lot of these teams have up and coming talent. Really, the only teams that you could say might be on a downward trajectory in terms of where their best players are in their career, Suns, Warriors, Lakers. Like that's it. And you would hope that the Trailblazers get good in 2 to 3 years. I know Scoot Henderson isn't going to be part of that, but you hope that they get better. Maybe the Utah Jazz get the dynamic duo of Cooper Flag in 25 and then AJ Debance in 26. I know they want him. I know they want Debance bad based on his college choice. But I just think it's really interesting looking at the Western Conference and seeing, oh, like there are 11, 12 legitimately good basketball teams in the West.
Yeah,
And just goes to highlight how the talent in the NBA now is better than it's ever been.
I would agree with that. That's a good start. Mine is I'm calling it NBA in quotes. Okay, calling it. This is I think the biggest story of the year, without a doubt. The Boston Celtics versus Team USA basketball. I think that's the biggest story of the year because it had all the drama. It's like Jaylen Brown wins Finals MVP. First of all, I picked this and not the Celtics winning the championship because it felt like the Celtics winning the championship only made this story bigger, right? So it's like Celtics win the championship. Jaylen Brown wins Finals MVP. He's not playing for Team USA. Instead, Derek White is playing for Team USA. Jaylen Brown's going after Grant Hill. Jaylen Brown's going after Nike. Jaylen Brown's releasing diss tracks. Grant Hill is saying shit. Like, all over the place. Just like mess, mess, mess. Again, D. White, his teammate, is chosen over him. And originally, it was fine because they picked Kawhi. Kawhi doesn't go. All this stuff happens. Then you get Jason Tatum, who was the second best player on Team USA 3 years ago in the Olympics. He barely plays. You got the memes. You got his mom chiming in. Steve Kerr saying shit. Again, this guy's won a championship as well. Then the offseason happens. Clearly Brown is motivated. Clearly Tatum is motivated. They're playing at a very high level. And because this happened during non-NBA time, I put this as the biggest storyline because, again, the Team USA got a ton of press as well. Like, the coverage of Team USA basketball was off the charts, in my opinion. This story, I think, was the biggest story of the year because it combined saying that the Celtics win the championship is boring, especially because when you look at how people have talked about the Celtics run, they think it was boring. They think they weren't tested. So the reason I chose this storyline as opposed to the Celtics just winning the championship is because it encapsulates and makes it bigger because they won the championship. So Boston Celtics versus Team USA basketball, that's got to be the biggest story for me.
That's a really good one. That's a unique way of putting it because I guess I'll piggyback off of that. My next storyline is just the internationalization of basketball and the Olympics overall.
Yep.
The fact that it was so goddamn good. Like the Olympic basketball games were so freaking good. Not just because our friend Noah Eagle was on the call for most of them, but the games themselves were spectacular. The final against France, everybody who watched that game is going to remember where they were when Steph hit that shot and then hit the nui nui on the French team. The Serbia comeback in the semifinals with Nikola Jokic and a bunch of international players almost taking down LeBron, KD, Steph, Tatum, Adebayo. Embiid, I don't I don't know why I listed Bam there. He probably should be towards the bottom. But and just like the showcase of international talent that we saw, the South Sudan storyline, which was incredible. France again nearly beating Team USA. Serbia playing incredibly well. It was just such a fantastic. Canada shockingly not going as far as they should have. Germany, the Wagner brothers, Mo Wagner is actually out for the season with a torn ACL. Like the internationalization of basketball, the Olympics, it was unreal. It was an unreal year for basketball.
I want to defend you from the inevitable internet hate. People are going to be like, oh, that's not NBA. Blah. When David Stern allowed NBA players to compete for Team USA, that to me morphed Team USA and the NBA as one entity.
Because
saying.
Everybody on Team USA is an NBA player, and it will
Correct.
always be that way.
So
it will always be that way.
So these are NBA storylines, folks. I'm just defending you, Henry, because I know
Although
hate for that.
It would be hilarious if there were just like an unbelievable American basketball player who's just like, I'm going to go play for Panathinaikos in Greece. I'm going to go play for Barcelona, average like 50 over there, and then just come play for Team USA.
It would be interesting. I mean,
maybe AJ DeBansta will be the first to do it. He's certainly carving his own path.
Okay, enough about hating on my guy AJ DeBansta. Number 2 for me is the rise of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think last year, again, because you combine, it's two NBA seasons. Thunder get the 1 seed. They were clearly ahead of schedule. Chet being the player that he was. SGA becoming really an MVP caliber player, like a true MVP candidate. And now this year where they made a lot of offseason moves. They get Caruso, they get Hartenstein. They lose Chet, they lose some other players, but they're still dominating. They get to the NBA Cup Finals, puke and die all over themselves. And obviously Chet and SGA have that heinous commercial. I think the Thunder were
what a pro
were a great storyline, but I don't think the league is ready for the Thunder quite yet, or else they would have put them on Christmas. But I think this is a big storyline. I think the Thunder are going to be huge in terms of the NBA hierarchy for years to come.
Yeah, we've been talking about them stockpiling $1 trillion draft picks, and eventually they're going to be a juggernaut. They got Chet. SGA is developing into a star. And now we're exactly where we thought they would be. Like, they are the best team in the Western Conference, bona fide championship contender, NBA Cup final notwithstanding. They're still a championship contender with one of the 5 best players in basketball and a bona fide MVP candidate. Chet Holmgren will be coming back. Yeah, the Thunder are they are like the breakout team. Kind of like how the Thunder in, the early 2010s after drafting Durant, Harden, and Westbrook in back-to-back years were like, oh, this team's going to be a problem. This team's going to be a problem. 2012 comes, they make the NBA Finals. Is this their 2012 moment? It very well might be. Number 3 for me, Missoula ball. The introduction of nonstop drive and kick, 3-pointers and layups. The Boston Celtics offense, basically. The fact that Jarek White has become a elite high volume 3-point shooter, which is absolutely insane coming from where he was in San Antonio. Jason Tatum developing his game in such a well-rounded way. I saw someone on Twitter say, Tatum is the closest thing that we've seen to LeBron. And in some ways that's true because Tatum is so well-rounded. He's just, it was like 5 to 10% worse than prime LeBron at everything, but he's still extraordinary at everything. He's an excellent passer, excellent defender, really strong, can attack the rim. He's shooting a lot better this year than he was last year.
He's a better shooter, I would say, than LeBron.
That's fair. That's
fair.
He's
figured it out. Last year, definitely not.
But yeah, like Missoula ball, chuck up a bunch of threes. Oh my God, is this ruining the NBA? Shut up.
God, I can't stand that, Henry. I'm sorry. I hate to cut you off. Did you watch the Golden State Warriors? Did you watch that team? Did you watch the Durant Warriors on top of that? I can't stand this whole talk now. Like the people don't watch the game and think, I don't like how they played the game. They watch and get upset based off the results of the game. That's it. It's not the style of play. If you think fans care about style of play, you're only targeting boomers, which is what the Nielsen ratings target. So I can't stand that. The style of play is ruining the league. Stop it. The three-pointer's been a thing for ages. Look at how youth players are now. How many of them just chuck threes? It's been a problem for years. Stop it.
I can tell I struck a nerve with that one. But I'm not
I'm
saying
just
they're
so
ruining the
bothered by it.
NBA. But
Other people are.
the rise of the Celtics offense, I think, is one of the 5 biggest stories.
Next for me, it's the Villanova Knicks. You have last season Brunson playing the way that he did, Josh Hart playing every minute, DiVincenzo, most improved player, caliber year, shooting the shit. Then the playoff run, Stephen A in the tunnel. Then you go get Mikal Bridges. Then you trade Dante DiVincenzo before the start of the season. Villanova Knicks, man, were discussed at length. We've kind of, because they broke it up and got rid of DiVincenzo, I think it has died down. But even trading DiVincenzo, you had him fighting Jalen Brunson's dad, all that weird shit. I just think the Villanova Knicks were talked about a lot, borderline too much, because the media darling last year was the Knicks. It wasn't the Thunder, it was the Knicks. And this year, they're being treated as a true favorite, as they should, and the Villanova-ness has worn off. But the Villanova-ness wearing off is part of the story, So I think the Villanova Knicks storyline has been a dominant one all season, all 2024.
Villanova-ness, new word, add it to the dictionary.
The Villanova Knicks.
Number 4 for me, and I'm just going to touch on this really briefly because we've said enough. I think the ratings deserve a mention, and not like, oh, we need to freak out, but the fact that there is a freak out, the fact that everyone is like, oh, how do we fix the NBA? Get rid of 3-pointers, make dunks worth 3, push the line, there's no more corner threes. I think the fact that everyone is collectively shitting their pants over, oh, the NBA is dying, what are we going to do? I think that is it's a storyline. It gets talked about. It's on all the podcasts. It's on all the shows. It deserves a mention.
I mean, make the product better on TV. We talk about this all the time.
Add some je ne sais quoi. Add some intrigue. Do you want to know what this got me thinking about? Did you see that video of that professional darts player walking out and they're playing a Sia song? He's like, I am titanium. And the crowd's going nuts. Yep. That is way more electric than most NBA crowds. Add aura. Add intrigue. Like, get the darts crowd there.
Well, Henry, it's not that the NBA crowds aren't good. It's that the TV providers kill the crowd noise and boost their announcer volume, so you can't really hear the crowd. Here's what you do. Force ESPN to fix their pre- and post-game, and them acquiring Inside the NBA should do that. Bring up house noise. I don't care. I'm sorry. I don't care what the play-by-play and color people say if it's going to take away from the noise. And I think most announcers would agree with that sentiment as well. The goal is to hear the crowd. That tells the story more than the sideline reporter talking about something. That's just a reality. Pump the crowd noise in, and not even pump it in. We're not talking Jim Irsay and Indianapolis Colts, but just actually don't mute it. Show how it actually sounds, okay? Make these pre- and post-game shows matter, and then define the games. So I think the new media deal will hopefully help that, where Amazon will have a very specific look to their game. ESPN will have a specific look to theirs, and NBC will have a specific look to theirs. I just think the NBA TV product is so kind of like slapsticky of late. Let's make it matter. I want to hear Bob Costas doing an intro about why it matters, what the game is today, and then I want to hear the great theme music. I'm sorry. I think the TV product can be improved in the NBA, and that will instantly help. And make it easier to stream. I'm sorry. And start counting that. Start collecting that data. I rest my case. Real quick, the Bucks struggles. I know the Bucks just won the NBA Cup, so it's kind of like a full circle story on 2024. But the Dame Giannis pairing not really working out was a dominant storyline for most of 2024. They're starting to figure it out more. The Bucks are starting to come together more, which is good. But that team came in as a right behind Boston contender, and they were not that last year. They just weren't. And they struggled. It wasn't working. Go through, the Doc Rivers of it all. It just wasn't working. That was a big storyline. And it might be turning a corner, but we'll have to wait and see.
All right, and then my last storyline of 2024, Father Time. LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, the big 3 of the last generation. Father Time's catching up with them. As I said at the end of during the playoff run last year, you used to always be able to say, oh, they've got LeBron, they've got a chance. Oh, they've got Durant, they have a chance. Oh, they have Curry, they have a chance. It's not the case anymore. League is too good, and they've plateaued. They've all declined. Like, not insignificantly either. Like, did you see the stats that LeBron, this is the first season of his entire career where the teams have been better with him off the court? And I'm not saying that means he's bad or he's like, a bottom 50 player in the NBA or whatever. He's still excellent, still amazing. But he has significantly declined. And Steph Curry's only averaging 22 points per game. And Kevin Durant's advanced numbers are way down from where they were when he was in Brooklyn and Oklahoma City. Like, they've all declined. They're not the players they used to be. Father Time is catching up to them.
And going, not to go back and harp on the ratings at all, but that could also be attributed if all these like young people's favorite athletes are still these guys, and the NBA has been pushing them for years and years and years, and their teams aren't good. That has an impact on ratings. I mean, tinfoil hat time, real quick. If every young basketball player that gets interviewed before an AAU tournament or a college game says their favorite player is Paul George, and Paul George doesn't play, they're not going to watch. And that's just math, right? So if every young person is saying that Paul George is their favorite basketball player and he can't play, he can't go, they're not going to watch. Boom, I just solved the ratings problem. If Paul George was healthier, the ratings would be better. Put it out there. I just figured it out. You're welcome, Adam Silver. Rest Paul George. Get him going. Joey Sloss just entered the room, and he agrees with me.
Make sure Paul George plays 78 games a year. That's how you get kids to watch the NBA. Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you, Joey.
That's my brother. Last storyline for me real quick. The opposite of Father Time. The ascension of Anthony Edwards, and then was it too soon? Ant got so much press in 2024, especially during the Timberwolves being as good as they were, and especially in the playoffs. People comparing him to MJ, having that killer gene. Then he goes to Team USA. He says he's the guy. He was not. And now his team is struggling. Ant gets a ton of press, and a lot of it's deserving because he's such a cool, athletic player. He also talks a ton. He's a showman. Him jawing at Kevin Durant, I mean, that clip was out millions and millions of times. So the media likes Anthony Edwards, and they give him a ton of press. It's kind of weaned off in the later part of 2024 because his team has struggled. But if you have to look at impressions and clicks and stuff like that, Anthony Edwards is high on that list. And I do think people thought he was here, and now, as you said at the beginning of the show, he may have gotten a little bit worse this year. So how that continues to progress will be very, very interesting for me.
All right. So those are our 5 biggest NBA storylines from 2024. Some good stuff in there for sure. So I think we did a good job summing up the year.